Hi everybody, I'm Adele Levine, and today we're going to do the subject matter visitations in your dreams and what does it mean. So we know what we're talking about, right? Visitations from the spirit world, from people you know who have passed, deceased, loved ones or friends, or for that matter. And sometimes, yes, of course, you might have even had dreams of someone you don't know, but you really can tell they're trying to tell you something, meaning like maybe you've had a dream of a spirit, and you don't know it's a spirit, but you get a sense like someone's trying to tell you what something happened to them if they pass. So there's a lot of categories under this, but we're going to cover just the visitations in your dreams from loved ones and those that you know. I'll do another one on kind of like premonition mediumship, I guess, or communication, like if you're communicating outside of your circle. So also just would like to ask you to subscribe and to like and make comments. It was really helpful. I know people are watching this and people have told me that they're watching this, but you know, it's good to know in the comments other people have questions, and you know, I'm trying to build like a little bit of a community here. So visitations and dreams, I'm going to tell you how I have been told and have seen what it really means. So here's how I see it. When you're having a dream of someone who has passed, you are actually going to their realm. You're going to where they are. Your spirit is lifting off and going to visit them in their realm. I know people think it, you know, visitations and dreams means somehow they're just coming into your dream state. But if you think about it, the dream state, the dream world, is the same world that they're in. Now, with that said, there are psychological dreams. So I know I'm going to cover two differences. A psychological dream would usually go like the person that has passed, you're kind of talking about, you know, eating a hot dog and having fries and a shake, and then all of a sudden it's like boom, now they've turned into a unicorn, and you're like, oh, now I'm at my old school, and you're like, what does this all mean, right? Or you may see the person, sometimes it's like you see, you know, if they were dying or something. Excuse me, I'm going to be a little bit casual and have some water so that my throat doesn't dry up. But you know, like if you see someone, if you've watched someone was slowly dying, you may sometimes have reoccurring dreams of them, you know, in that state, and you're like, oh my gosh, why do I keep seeing this? And some people interpret that as like, oh, they're stuck, you know, they're stuck in this, you know, in between world, and they're trying to tell me, and they're still like in pain. No. Those are usually psychological dreams. The dreams when you're having a visitation, it will come to you like you're kind of falling asleep, you drift off, and all of a sudden you see yourself walking, right? And you're in a place, and the person just kind of appears who has passed. And you may be like at an ice cream shop or a coffee shop, and let's say they hated ice cream or they hated coffee, or they're in an environment where you're like, this isn't really normal, why am I here? And you see them and you're like, you're here, and they'll say, yeah. They'll quickly usually say, I just want to let you know I'm okay. And then they'll try to distract you. And the reason why I call it a distraction, so it would be something like, let's walk over here, or do you want this ice cream? And you can feel yourself trying to go, wait a minute, like something's weird, something's off, because I'm, you know, kind of your you know, your conscious mind is starting to kind of fight of going, I kind of feel like I remember something, and what it is you're trying to remember is that they are dead. And so those who have passed try to distract you from that. They're trying to go like, oh yeah, don't think about that. They're trying to get you away from that, because as soon as you start to remember that the person has passed, you shoot back into your body, because you're going, okay, the pain hits you of like, oh, that's right, they're dead. And then you're like, oh my gosh, and you're in pain in the sense of sadness and grief, and that grounds you very quickly. So oftentimes when you're having a hard time having a dream that you want to communicate to them a dream, and you think, oh, they're just like, they don't want to talk to me. They for some reason, I used to have dreams about them and they don't have dreams as like I used to. It's not because they don't want to talk to you. It's because it's gotten hard for you and you start shutting that down. So here's the thing. When people first pass, a lot of times people will talk about that they, dreamt about them a lot. They'll say, oh, I, um, had, you like this Mad Hatter cup. I had dreams about them, a lot and often, right? And so people will often say, like, at the beginning it seemed to be that I was dreaming about them a lot, and then all of a sudden it stopped. Though they must got busy. They must don't want to talk to me. All kinds of things people are even told by other readers, and I don't know, they read about online or friends or things like this, or it's really just the sadness in your heart that's telling you don't want to be disappointed, because you're going, well, I really had this going on for some time, but I guess it's over. So you just kind of let it go, or you feel sad about it. What happens is when someone first passes, you're very much thinking about them, you're very much focused on them, so your heart, which is where the connection comes from, is very starting to open. It's really open because it's raw and the person had just passed, so you're like really open to wanting to talk to them, and you're not blocking that world out. You're not going, okay, I don't want to see this. I have like things I have to get done. I can't just like be sad all the time, so I'm just gonna keep doing the things I need to do. So you're not blocking it out as much. But as when someone first passes, you're kind of diving into the grief and the sadness, and so you're not blocking anything out. So it's much easier for the spirit world to connect to you, because you still are believing in that connection. You're not in shock, right? I mean, sorry, reverse that. You are in shock, and because you're in shock, you're still kind of not really accepting and realizing the person is gone. You still see them as connected to you. What happens over time is that people start to go, they must have moved on, they must have gone on, I don't feel as connected to them anymore, right? So they kind of start to let it go, and they start to go, okay, well, I'm starting to, quote, move on and such. So, or they must have moved on and they must be busy, so I just kind of have to accept it. So you kind of stop keeping your heart open. So, but every once in a while, you have your moments, and you might notice this comes around birthdays or comes around anniversaries and things, and that's because you're thinking about them again, and you're being open again, and you're starting to feel your heart kind of longing for them again. And they're like, okay, I can slip in and pull them to me. So I'm going to do a video on sleep paralysis and shadow people, because it is kind of connected, actually. But the thing is that your spirit starts, they help pull your spirit into their realm. It's just another realm. It's a state of consciousness. And so therefore, back to what I was saying, is you have this dream, they're walking along, and and they're like, hey, let's get an ice cream, because they're trying to distract you from remembering that they passed. And you're like listening to them, and they're saying, I miss you, or you're saying, I miss you, and they're saying, I'm okay, and it hasn't come to your head yet, and they're like, oh, let's go look at this fish, or let's go get an ice cream, or let's sit down on this bench. And all of a sudden you remember, oh, wait a minute, they're dead, and it hits you, and you shoot up in your bed. So have you ever seen those movies where people shoot up in their bed and they're like, oh my God, and they start crying, and they're kind of sweating sometimes, and they're like confused. People get this way because it will happen to you, and you may have had this happen to you. Please share and comment if you have, because I'm telling you, it helps people to know that they're not alone. It's me as a medium telling you this, but other people kind of sharing their stories makes people feel like Okay, there's people who are not mediums and who don't do this, who are experiencing this, and that's the point of me doing these videos, is I'm trying to empower everyone. So yes, so you'll wake up into this way of like complete almost confusion and panic. So you have this dual thing going on. You feel like this amazing feeling of like, oh my gosh, I felt so happy to see them. It felt so good to see them. I felt like it was so real. And then I kind of get this rude awakening, literally, where I'm like back, and then you feel a little disoriented. I've had it. Oh, sorry about that. I hit the table. That was just me. I've had that happen to me, and I've even had it happen to the point where you start like walking around and you're like looking for the person. The first time that happened to me, I was like, okay, are they here somewhere? Like, because it feels so legitimately real that you're like you know, you're confused. And so over time though, and I'm gonna, you know, just stick with me for a little bit, because I'm just gonna end this with tips on how to increase your dream connection. So but over time, if you allow this to happen more, it will get faster, they will get longer, and you'll actually get to a point where you're more aware of like, I know I'm in a dream, I know that they've passed, I know I'm somewhere else talking to them, and you don't come back as quick, and you don't shoot up in that same kind of way, and you just kind of wake up out of it. And those will start to turn more into, they kind of start to say things like, hey, you know, sometimes it will be a little bit like you're in a movie with them, and then you wake up and go, okay, I know what that means and the symbolism. Sometimes it will be, hey, you know what, I'm just trying to let you know you're not alone, and I know you're going through a hard time, but I'm here, that kind of thing. So it'll start to get more clear. So how do you increase your dreams? Here's the thing. It's what I always say, first start off by talking to them. But as you fall asleep, much like in the movie In the Sixth Sense, when the little boy says to Bruce Willis, if you talk to them as they're sleeping, they'll hear you better. The only thing is, of course, like in that movie, they just show, you know, him standing there, which is totally fine, and because that's the way we understand it. But it is like this. It's just that she was able to slip into his world, even though it looked like he was in the same world. He's in a world within a world. So what I'm saying is, as you fall asleep, as you're drifting between the wake state and the dream state, because that's where you start to kind of open up. Why does this usually happen between 1, or people say 3 to 5? Because some people, and don't quote me on this, but some people believe this is kind of the REM state. This is like the real hard, you know, where you're really dreaming. And the spirit world kind of knows your brain is really, really asleep, and you're way more open to listening and exploring and traveling. So it's not just only because there's something spooky going on. So anyway, so back to like, as you're drifting off and you're falling asleep, say to the person you want to talk to, make sure you only name the person or persons you want to talk to, and make sure that you, before you go to sleep, put protection around you. Whatever you use, I use a gold light, gold and blue light of Michael, and that energy, whatever you believe in, use, and say, I want to be protected, and I'm only asking to speak to this person. Do it for 7 nights. I say for a week, because it's a round number. So if you start Monday, you know you'll end Monday. What happens is you start to open this part up, your heart, that cord starts to connect more and more, because it is a cord, it's an energy cord to the person who has passed, and more you guys start to get connected, and you're kind of pulling them and they're pulling you, and it's, you know, contact. And so usually people have found when they do this that it starts to get better. It really depends on your grief process. The other thing is, if you're going through a lot of grief, let yourself cry, let yourself feel, open your heart, don't fight it. And that is a big part of it is too, because when you're in a lot of pain, a lot of times there's 2 reasons. You want it to happen, but you kind of unconsciously know it's going to be painful. You know it's going to be kind of sad to see them. So there's a part of you that kind of knows this and is a little afraid to let it happen. And then the other part is that, you know, you're in so much pain, it's hard to open your heart. It's just hard to allow yourself to let go. So that is how I see dream visitations. And you know, I would really, really recommend. They're awesome. And not just that, but it is kind of helps you open the gateway to other type of communications, because if you can really see and feel and experience that you're there with someone, it helps you to open up to getting the signs and the signals that they're trying to send you, you know, as you're awake and walking around. So I hope this helped you in some kind of way. Please like leave comments, and also even like suggestions of things you might want to see. I'd love to hear, like, meaning like questions you would, subject matters you like me to cover. Follow me on Instagram and on Facebook. I'm on Instagram a lot, and I kind of post from Instagram to Facebook. If you're in the LA area, you can get a reading in person with me, and AdeleLevine.com has all that information. And even if you're not in the LA area, I do phone and Skype if you want to do a reading, or come to my events that I do. But if you are in the, obviously if you're in LA, or unless you know how to astral project yourself. I'm just joking. Anyway, as I always say as I end, listen to yourself, listen to the answers that are inside of you. Don't follow people or follow them in that kind of sense that like they are the leaders and they know. Just listen to all of the information and take what resonates with you, throw out what doesn't. Be skeptical, question. To me, skepticism is just questioning, question everything, and listen to yourself, because we're born with these answers. These are just keys to help unlock it. Thanks. See you soon.